Hey everyone, and welcome to the GRC Room for 5 questions. I'm Mike Andrews here once again with Karina Klever, and we're happy to welcome Zlatko Unger, who's a CISO expert at Wiz. How are you doing today, Zlatko?
I'm doing great. Just call me Z.
All right.
Doing great. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, thanks so much for being here. So we're looking to get right into it. Let me pass it to Karina for a brief intro and the first question.
Fantastic, thank you. I am Karina Klever, founder of Klever Compliance. We're known for compliance management as a service, and lately we have been combating tool lard in a really big way. And I will go ahead then and ask the first question, which is, which part of cyber GRC do business struggle with the most, do you believe?
Ooh, okay, I love this one. So I'm gonna say that TPRM has turned into nothing but security theater. We're spending so much money on acquiring all of these different certification reports and everything else. We're ignoring everything but what's in scope. So just that way we just put in a facade for external parties. At the same time, all these efforts are very expensive. All of the work that the SMEs have to do in order to show a good facade is very excruciating. And the underlying issues behind the scenes are not being addressed because they're not in scope. They're a marketing system. They are our HR system. It's not in scope, out of sight, out of mind. It's not a part of our SOC 2. It's not about our PCI. The race to the bottom for SOC 2, for example, has created a lot of chaos. And the questionnaires are just getting more and more complex because these reports are not justifying the need to show that a company is secure. As everybody has moved into SaaS offerings, SOC 2 is still the de facto need. However, it's just a check mark. It's become more like, that's adorable. Okay, you pass, but here's a 300 questionnaire that you need to answer, and we're not going to look at your SOC 2 to fill in the gaps and give you the delta. So I would say that TPRM is turning into very expensive security theater.
Yeah, and that is one of my favorite all-time topics because we continue to have these huge gaps despite all of our best efforts, and many times the gaps are the contract versus legal versus what your expectation of services are, right? And so many SOC 2s exclude sub-service organizations, right? So okay, you ask for a SOC 2, but if you don't know exactly what of your data you're passing to your vendor, and then which of that data they're passing to their vendor, and downstream, yep, all the questionnaires in the world make absolutely no sense, right? Many times a contract will say things like, we're not responsible for your data. They'll say things like, we're not going to go and relinquish back any of your data to you once you terminate with us, right? Some contracts actually have contradictions within the contract themselves, right? So, so very, very important to understand what contractually the bumper guards are, because you literally have zero visibility on your vendors, and then plus downstream from there. It's a very dangerous place.
Yeah, when it comes to anybody but your direct third party, where your data flows and the connection between all your third parties and fourth parties that they utilize, be it a CMS system, a ticketing system, what have you, you are that your data is spread all across these systems, but you yourself are not reviewing them, and you're trusting their TPRM processes to say like, oh yeah, sure, we checked out Acme Co's ticketing system. It's all legit. It's cool. Don't worry about it.
Right. And I mean, the assumption there is that everybody wants to do the right thing, right, which is farce. And B, really the problem is, unless you're doing data classification the right way, data mapping the right way, really, and then that data structuring the right way, you're not going to even understand which workflows are impacted or what the requirements should be from the group that you send your data downstream to. Mm-hmm. Thanks for that.
Yeah, there is so much to talk about with TPRM. It kind of takes us into our next question, since a lot of breaches are TPRM related. So Z, what's one data breach that stood out to you the most, and why that one?
Ooh, I love this question, since there's so many different ways that companies get popped from a technical perspective. But I think that the biggest weakness is still human nature. And to answer your question, I would say the MGM breach from 3 to 2.5 years ago, and how both Caesars and MGM were basically targeted. Caesars decided to pay, MGM didn't. However, in both cases, it was a human risk where I believe with MGM, an IT professional was called, they were spoofed, and then there was a lateral movement with the access that the individuals have had. We still have these old school guards of protecting that human layer. So that's why training is just, we spend so much time on training that is ignored just because there's so much of it. And it's very hard to like put the right knowledge in that gap so that everybody's on the same page. It's much easier when you're working in a certain industry. For example, I'm at a security company. I feel that most of us have had so much phishing training that we can, you know, spot a phish email from, you know, five yards away. However, when it comes to all of these other industries, it's very hard to bridge that gap in a meaningful way that actually teaches the end users of how to spot this behavior. And that's why I think that this breach is still important, because we spent so much time on all the training and everything, but still, you know, 2.5 years ago, MGM and Caesars both had these tremendous phishing, or I guess it wasn't phishing, like impersonations.
Yeah. Social engineering.
Yes, those are the words I'm looking for.
You know, and now we have the Clorox lawsuit where they went and hired a help desk company that was really trying to be a great help desk and very helpful. So people called the help desk and said, "What's my password?" And they're like, "Well, let me give it to you." Right. So, I mean, that's a real life lawsuit. So, I mean, this all goes back to training 100%. So next question then, what is the most impactful GRC related advice that you ever received?
So one of the, there's two, you might lose the battle, but win the war when it comes to attributing risk to business owners. And the other one is that the business owns the risk. It's not up to the CISO or the head of security or whoever owns the GRC security function to be the owner of the risk. The business owner owns the risk, and the risk needs to be signed off by a C-level exec or a board, or not board, but some body of top-level management, rather than security just owning all of everybody else's mistakes. You know, we have, you know, Java 9 in our product. Oh, that's security's problem, not engineering. Oh, you know, we don't do background checks in this type of countries. It's not HR's risk, it's security's risk. So the advice I got was make sure that somebody else owns it, so when it blows up, it's not you that falls on the sword. And of course, a bunch of different security professionals have fallen on many swords for others' mistakes, but keeping your job is more important than, you know, showing off that you're willing to do anything for the company.
Yeah, that's a big one. And this is definitely an area where words matter. You know, sometimes you could say accountable and responsible, and it's like everyone's like, okay, that means the same thing. But in this area, it's different. You know, the CISO might oversee like all the cybersecurity programs and processes, but they don't own the cyber risk personally. Like if there's a $20 million breach, you're not going to take 150 years of his salary or something like that. So
yeah,
that's a big one. So along with this, question number 4 for Z. You've clearly excelled, done well in this field. So what is something that you do differently that allows you to excel in this field?
So I think joining any organization, and I have been fortunate enough to be a part of several different startups for the past decade, is opening the closet, looking under the rug, talking to everybody, and just seeing what is buried, what skeletons are there, what's buried underneath the rug, and understanding that there's a lot of risk, and it's virtually impossible to secure everything because there's the known unknown and the unknown unknown. And if you go after everything, you're going to be exhausted. Your boss is not going to like the way that you're panicking about everything else. Your finance, your CFO is not going to like the requests that you're making for the tooling that you need. And it's just going to be impossible to just have a clean slate. Everything is green, everything is peachy, because then you don't have a job. But The jokes aside, I think it's important to focus on things that are attainable, things that are going to cause problems in the future, and look at problems by prioritizing them based upon risk, and know that sometimes there might be a certain priority that you cannot get to just because of politics, because of complexity, and maybe because nobody really gives a hoot nanny. So you just set it, don't forget it, but revisit it once you have more ability to focus, rather than just panicking and trying to whack-a-mole with every limb that you have accessible to you.
Yeah. What do you think, Karina?
Well, I mean, I think that it's broad, right? It really needs to cover the entirety of the company, and everybody has to come to the table and really want to put the company's welfare first, and make sure that the gaps are known and that things can be prioritized from there. So then we have one last question. So what is the top thing that a business can do today to strengthen its cyber GRC?
Many will not like this, but I think that as the company grows older and older, there is so much accumulation of documentation. There's no process in place to just do a spring cleaning, get rid of things that you don't need. So we're just accumulating a lot of data. It's not a big deal when it's drafts about meetings and business-led exercises, but it's more about the data that is associated with production, end user logs and things of that nature that are just being kept forever. Sure, legal might say, hey, because reasons, we should, put a deletion for, every 6 years, or because we're under HIPAA, we need to do X. It is followed to some extent, but again, we go to question number one, what is in scope? If it's out of scope, it's out of mind, and then we still have a database full of very sensitive information. So I think there should be some way, some meaningful way that we can clean house and lower our digital footprint while still maintaining the business needs that the data scientists are thriving, engineers don't have to, the documentation is still available, but some way that we can say, like, does this make sense? Does our digital footprint from all of our business documents, do we need it? Is there a way that we can get rid of it? Can we archive it? Can we just put it somewhere, lock the key, and if we don't need it for a year, we just delete it, as long as it's legally bounding properties. And I think that this is something that is very difficult, that is done last minute, if at all. And the only reason that it's done is because somebody from legal makes a decision that our exposure, our liability is at stake, so we should do something about this.
So I'm going to actually add to that. So that's kind of what I talk about with data classification. Some of my really good friends are ethical hackers, and it takes them the same 5 minutes to get into a big data set or a small data set. Right. So obviously you want to go for the bigger data set. And I find companies doing ridiculous things like encrypting publicly available data. Why? You're increasing your costs, you're increasing your footprint, right? And we have this thing called toolard, which actually we relate to too many redundant functionality in platforms that are legacy, or they're stacked one on top of the other. Same kind of thing with data as well. So completely understand how support you with the need to lean on the operational data.
Yep, that was a big one, Z. And like Karina brought up data classification, it's hard to have data retention policy if you don't know what data you have.
Right.
It's been awesome to do these 5 questions with you, Z. Other than LinkedIn, where can people find you?
Twitter has gone downhill. Facebook has been downhill for quite a while. So I'm on LinkedIn. I try to make things exciting in everybody's feed by making jokes. But in all seriousness, I hope that something gets something out of my post and makes their day better on there.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think people do. I certainly do. So thanks so much for joining us. Have a great day.
Thank you.